All right, gonna do some more triple triad on a position we've been looking at, and the question is, what should blue do here? And this time, blue is going to try moves in 3. And I think from a general perspective, moves in 3 are blue's best chance, and that a move in 3 is more likely to get blue the desired result, be it a win or a tie, than a move in 7 would. And the reason for that is that red used their up and down powered card, their vertical card, Cactuar, to recapture their starter, and still has their horizontal, their side-to-side card left. They have more side-to-side power left, and that means if blue can direct the game as up-down as possible, red's hand is going to be resultingly weaker, while if the game is directed side-to-side, red's hand will become stronger. And the observant viewer might think, but when blue went in 5 in these positions, I said red should reply in 3, because 2636 is so dominant on the bottom row. So isn't going 3 here also going to help the 2636 dominate the bottom row, and might not 7 be better, and 7 also takes a card and puts blue up 6-4. And I think the big difference here is whether or not 5 is occupied. If 5 is occupied, the game is really close to having the only remaining squares be on the bottom row, especially if red then goes in 3, and the 2636 is really likely to find a very powerful endgame position. If 5 is not occupied, the game has a lot more shapes it can take, and the 2636 will not as reliably end up with open squares on the bottom row to use, attacking other things that it can take. And instead, the problem is going to be it has no up value, and a lot of the cards that need to be taken are up. So I think that's one big reason why 3 should be favored over 7. And connected to that is, if blue does go in 3, red's going to want to go in 5, right? The whole thing has been, can we fight for 5? Who can win the fight for 5? And red only has 1 card for 5 that can capture 2. Well, if blue went in 7, red would have a lot more options of moves in 5, right? All 3 of their cards capture the card in 4, and they have a decent amount of leftward power. They have very little upward power, and only 1 of their cards in 5 can capture the card in 2. So red's going to have far fewer choices, and thus blue, in trying to fight for control of 5, only has to set up combo potential against 1 possibility in 5, rather than having to set up against 3 different cards that might strongly play in 5. So let's look at a move in 3. Okay, it's going to work. There we go. 3, 2, 7, 6, and 5. Now this move is safe, but we know safety isn't really what matters here. The question is, did we fight for 5? Now, red has only 1 move that makes any sense in 5. They want to capture, so let's input. We're struggling. Okay, there we go. So that's red's capture in 5. And if we look at this position, blue did not set a combo up in 6. And we might say, okay, so this didn't work. And in fact, every move but 1 here for blue loses. But blue did have a trap here. Blue had a trick. They can play against 5. They can play 6, 3, 2, 7, and 9. This sets up a plus in 8 and also a same in 8 and a plus in 6. Red does have a plus in 6. Depending which card they put there, they flip different things, but they have nothing in 8. So if red blocks 8, blue can go 6. And if red leaves both of them open, blue will go 6 and red will have nothing in 8. And the result of this game is a blue win. Blue had this clever trap if red goes 5. Thus, blue could combat 5 with their move in 3, and red can't go there. And that means already red's going to have a somewhat tricky situation. So we know if red can't go in 5, they'd like to go in 6, but they don't have any captures in 6. If they can't go in 5 or 6, they take the opposite corner and go in 7. So let's look at a move in 7. Again, 6, 7, 2, 3 is a safe move. It looks good, but we don't care that much about safety. We care about contesting 5. And here, 2, 7, 6, 3, and 5 just wins on the spot. Red has no combos on it. Blue has a little combo potential on it in 8, and blue leads 6-4. This is a win for blue. So let's try a different card in 8. But what we learned from that line was, hey, bomb in 5 beats us, right? So we need to set up something where we can combo bomb in 5. And we might notice, 6, 7, 2, 3 can just plus wall it from 8. So what we have to do is hold on to 6, 7, 2, 3. So we'll try a different move in 7 that holds on to 6, 7, 2, 3, because then we can fight back against bomb in 5. So 2-6-3-6. This looks like the next most natural move. It's not quite as safe as the previous one, but it can only be taken by one of the opponent's cards. And this looks like the next most promising move. And we do have the response. We can combo back if they go bomb in 5, but they can also play 6-3-2-7 in 5. And then they'll flip 2 cards because it pluses. They're up 7-3. And what do we have? We can't combo back. They set up no combo potential for them either, but if we can't combo back and they can comfortably go in 5 and take a 7-3 lead, they're going to win. So we don't survive this one either. So we need to stop bomb in 5, and we need to stop 6-3-2-7 in 5, which leads us to the last card we could play in 5. And again, we have this thing of we look at a variation and we see what doesn't work about it, and we try to find a different move where we won't have the same problem. And here we notice, okay, if they want to go 6-3-2-7 and 5, if we still had 2-6-3-6 in our hand, we'd have a plus in 6. So we have to hold on to that. So we're left with one last move in 7. And our move is 3-2-7-6 and 7. And I think this looks silly, right? It just looks like a very strange move. I think for people who haven't really thought about these structures, this is a just about impossible move to find. I think it's the type of move that Seto was really phenomenal at finding, where he makes this move that just looks like that's an irrelevant move in an offbeat square, but it fights for the square that matters in a kind of strange, unclear way. And he ended up playing very, very strongly, but making these moves that looked kind of irrelevant and just like, why'd he play that there? It's just weak. But turned out to be a really strong square. So here, we fight for the square that matters, 5. 6-3-2-7 in 5, we can combo in 6, and we gave them no combo in 8. 2-7-6-3 in 5, we can combo in 8, and we gave them no combo in 6. And so pressure is now back on blue to survive, right? Red has survived the assault. And here blue can tie. For instance, 7-6-3-2 and 5 is a tie. There are others, I think. But it's interesting, right? Because fighting for 5 is just so much more important than safety. And blue's move in 3 was safe and a good move, but it only worked because they had the trick in 9. If they didn't have the trick in 9, it would have been losing because it would not have fought for 5 otherwise. And the only tie in 7 was the move that fought against 5. And I also think the other really telling thing about this example is red was under more pressure overall than blue. That blue made this capturing a starter move and red recaptured and had this hand wholly built around recapturing. And yet with a good move in 3, which is the square blue should go in, blue put a lot of pressure on red. And that blue's play is actually quite logical. They went in 2, capturing a starter, but then they went in 3, taking advantage of the fact that we used our vertical, not our horizontal. There was a card in our hand that had power in a direction, Cactuar. They got it out of our hand and then started directing the game towards where that card would not be as to where that card would be missed, to where red would like to still have that card because they'd have more options for ways to take 2 specifically. And that with such play, blue actually managed a decent game and put a bunch of pressure on red, and as long as they could deal with responses to 5, which here they could with that tricky move in 9, blue could get a good game out of capturing the starter. So I think this shows that in these structures where there are cards in 1, 2, and 4, the second turn player should basically never play in 5. 5 is a disaster waiting to happen. 3 and 7 are the main options, and their choice between 3 and 7 should depend on which cards red has already used. So let's go to my summary. Nope, no summary. Next time on, we'll do a lot more examples. We're going to face different hands to show that this isn't just stuff that holds up in this specific situation. We're going to see this. We're going to use the same hand. Eventually, I'll switch that up too. But we're going to see it against a variety of opposing hands, see which ones work better and which ones worse. And that hopefully what we've learned, how important the fight over 5 is in these L's, we'll see that continuing to exist hand after hand in lots of different examples. But again, I think this is a pretty informative game. I think blue's move in 3 is really good, and clearly a better move than going in 5 or 7 was. Both of those were losing options. And that the moves that fight over 5 are the best moves. Here, red's best move was in 7 on turn 5. And this is just not an obvious move. These are hard moves to find, but if you know what to look for in the positions, I think they are regularly findable. And I think a move like 3, 2, 7, 6, and 7, which looks like by far the least likely card for us to stick in 7, should hopefully make sense as a viable way for red to save this position. Alright, next time, as I said, we will move on to examples where we're facing different hands, and we'll see how somewhat different number combinations work. Cheers.